I have been a professor for about 15 years, but I am a complete garbage teacher. And I know this because one day, very recently, one of my students came marching down to the front of the auditorium and said, "Anthony, I have a list of all the things you are doing wrong." And I looked at her just dumbfounded, did not know how to respond to that. So you can imagine, there I am in my office, sitting in my fancy professor office chair and listening to this student tell me all the things that I'm doing wrong. And I'm just tapping my pen on my thigh. I can't believe this student has the audacity to call me out. I'm a professor. In my own haze, the tram outside my office honks, and it snaps me out of it. And so I look over at the student, and I realize Katie is a revolutionary. Katie's not satisfied with the status quo. Katie is here to speak truth to power. I'm sitting there kind of fuming, really looking at her like, "You are the enemy." And she's looking back at me like, "You arrogant asshole." I realized during this conversation that she's actually right. She actually has hit the nail right on the head. Every point rung true. And I hated that she was right. It bothered me so much that she saw this fallacy in my work that I couldn't see. And the worst part of that is I didn't want to admit that she was right. So I realized at that moment that I have a choice. I can choose to put her down, put her in the box. You are just a student, know your place. Or I could listen. Now, professors are very organized. We're very structured in the way we do things. We like things just so. In my office, I have a big wipe-off board. And on that wipe-off board, I have 3 markers. Only 3, because that's how many markers you need for a wipe-off board. I have 1 black marker. The black marker is for writing text. I have 1 blue marker. The blue marker is for writing figures and visualizations. And I have a red marker. Now, the red marker is only used infrequently, and it's only used when I need to make a change or a correction. So she made the fatal mistake of getting up to draw a diagram and picking up the red marker. Do you have any clue how much you've undermined your own argument? It's the equivalent of arguing with someone online in a chat or a comment field, and you misspell a word. And then the other person goes, "You misspelled a word. Obviously, you don't know what you're talking about." We got over the fact that she picked up that red marker. There's a really important lesson that I need to understand when it comes to my leadership. I, as a leader, need to shut up, or they, the person that's talking, will shut down. Katie and I struck up a long collaboration. We have won 1.7 million euro to empower women to learn more about innovation and entrepreneurship in over 24 countries around the world. That success story would never have happened if I hadn't shut up and listened. Now, I want to give you a little trick. It's the sign language for shut up, and it's super easy. Do you know the Italian gesture? Let's all do the Italian gesture together. Open hand, yeah, and then Italian gesture right at the corner of your mouth. This is the sign language for shut up. So I want you to promise me that you'll teach this to your bosses, and then when you're in a meeting with that boss, you'll be able to sit there in that chair, and you'll be able to look at them just like this. And they'll say, "You taught me this was the sign language for shut up. It's time for me to shut up so that you don't shut down." What are you gonna do when people like me won't shut up? Let's do it together. 1, 2, 3.